Tough finish for the Detroit Pistons, losing their season opener against the Chicago Bulls 115-111. There's a lot of takeaways I got to go through, and I got to call out some fans. We're going to have a real conversation today. Let's get into it right now on Top Title Detroit.
Perfect.
What's good? Welcome to Top Title Detroit. I am Eric Vincent, your host and Detroit Pistons beat reporter for ClutchPoints.com. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate y'all for being here. Before we talk about the Pistons season opener, please help us grow the channel by liking the video and subscribing to the channel as well. We've crossed over 500 subscribers. We're making some good strides here, and I think we can keep going strong. So please tell a friend to lock in with us right here and subscribe to Top Title Detroit. I would really appreciate that support. Let's talk about the Pistons, man. Just had their season opener against the Chicago Bulls. Came up short 115-111 in a pretty up and down kind of game, to be honest. It opened up really disgusting in the first quarter and really the first half in general. Getting blown out 35-19 in the first half, being down 20 plus at certain points of the game. It was really uninspiring basketball that we saw from them early to start this game off. Like JB Biggerstaff teams, though, they did a really good job rallying back, showed some fight in the fourth quarter, outscoring the Bulls 30-21, and really had a chance to kind of take the lead in a few possessions in the closing game. But unfortunately, we're not able to, make anything turn over in the final closing minutes of the game. So starting off 0-1 for the season, we saw a lot of things that I really want to get into. Before we get into that, let's just remember it's the first game of the year, so we're not going to go too crazy on the players. I'm not going to crash out and be too upset about what the players did. We saw a lot of rust from a lot of guys that we're going to talk about, and I don't think it was too much, at least for right now, that we should be jumping off of a building for. Let's relax. Again, even with the struggles that they had, there was still a lot of positive signs on both sides of the floor, and again, we're going to break down as much as we can when we're talking about this. Again, 115-111 final score. To kind of start off, Cade Cunningham, leading scorer for the Pistons, 23 points, had a double-double, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 23, 10, and 7. The numbers sound good, but it really wasn't one of the best games that we've seen from Cade. Shot really inefficiently from the field, 8 of 24 from the field, 1 of 6 from three-point range. He got to the free throw line 10 times, but he only made 6 of his attempts, and that was a little discouraging. Like, hey, you got to be around 90% hovering, man. As one of the best players in the NBA, 6 of 10 is not going to cut it. Again, I was very encouraged to see the refs giving him a better whistle than we've seen throughout his career, but he's got to be able to take advantage of it as well if he's going to begin to the line and get to the stripe. It was a tough game for him. 20 points for Beef Stew, a double-double as well, 20 and 10. 4 blocks as well. Really impressive defensive effort by him. Ron Holland with 19 really tried to step in and gave the Pistons a lot of good energy, especially through the second, third, and fourth quarter where they were getting behind a lot and they needed some players to kind of give them some energy when the starters really weren't cutting it. Ron was one of those guys, did a really good job on both ends of the floor and shot confidently as well. Shot 6 of 10 from the field, only 1 of 4 from 3, but 6 of 6 from the free throw line. And played some good defense as well. Got 2 steals, got a block, pestered some of the ball handlers, from the Bulls, and was able to create some fast break opportunities for himself and others for the Detroit Pistons. Nikola Vucevic continues to be a Piston killer with 28 points. Anytime he lines up from that, top of the key with his three-pointer, my head just drops down because it seems like he is automatic and always looking for shots from that point, whether he's coming from a trail position or if he's rolling from the top of the key or from a different area of the perimeter. He always seems to be wide open in collapsed areas where the guards are bringing the Piston defenders in. He's always sitting wide open for that rainbow three, and they just didn't have an answer for him at all tonight. 11 to 18 from the field, 4 to 6 from 3. It was really discouraging to see him, just be so comfortable in that Brook Lopez type role for the Bulls. And unfortunately for the Pistons, man, again, it's the first game of the season, but it was a lot of things that just kind of just irked me with what I saw. Coming out so flat in the first half, that's just not the Pistons basketball that we were expecting. There's a lot of energy. We talked early in the season or before the season about the expectations coming in and how excited they were to get the season going. And then to come out as flat as they did on both ends of the floor, it was just really discouraging. It just seemed like the Bulls were out hustling them on both sides of the floor. They were getting extra chance opportunities, and especially on offense too. When you look at what the Pistons did on offense, again, not their best performance, even though 111 points isn't bad at all. But to show how sloppy they were, the Bulls turned the ball over 17 times, and the Pistons only turned it over 10, which still shows how sloppy they were in a lot of their half-court sets. In the first quarter, Jalen Duren, I think the first 3 plays were lobs from Cade Cunningham where he was getting dunks right at the rim. Their most reliable offensive set in their half-court offense. It was working to a T for him. And unfortunately, Duren had to get taken out, I think, at the 9-minute mark because he picked up 2 cheap fouls on defense. Still a problem for him, and that has to be figured out soon. Jalen Duren has to be the most important the most important post and paint defender for the Detroit Pistons. And if he's not, that's going to be a problem. I love what Beef Stew did. I think he's fantastic coming off the bench for them. But if Duren wants to be that focal piece, he talked during media day saying he wanted to retire with the Pistons. He wanted to play his whole career in Detroit. And apparently, according to reports, is asking for, an interesting number in terms of his contract extension, which wasn't agreed to by the deadline. However, if he wants to be the guy that he wants to be for this focal point for this team and the franchise, then he's going to have to prove that with the play that we haven't seen yet. So, unfortunately, it really didn't show tonight. 15 points, didn't have a double-double, didn't have double-digit rebounds. And, that's a little alarming to me. He's supposed to be a dynamo on the glass every single night. You should be able to pencil him in for 10 rebounds. And unfortunately, he kind of just struggled, unfortunately, not being able to develop a rhythm because of the foul trouble he dealt with. And it seemed offensively, too, he just seemed kind of out of sync. And, it seemed like the Pistons were giving him some looks where he was getting the ball with a foot in the paint. And instead of, kind of forming some kind of a rhythm shot, he just kind of touched up some floaters and they just weren't going in. And it just didn't seem like he was real comfortable outside of those simple lobs that he would get from Cade. 7-12 from the field, 4 fouls. And again, they just keep just rattling off so quick in the quarters where you expect him to play as often as possible. Each starter played over 30 minutes, except for him. He played 19 minutes. That's a big problem. That cannot happen. Jalen Duren has to be better from what the Detroit Pistons are looking for. Another big problem I had was just really the front court in general. I think when you look at guys like Tobias Harris, who, again, he's not bad in terms of his offensive output. I mean, it wasn't a great game with 10 points, 4-12 from the field, really didn't find a rhythm from 3. And it seemed like they only really went to him on the block in those post-up sets, and they were starting to bring extra attention his way, and he just really didn't get a whole rhythm offensively, for the Pistons. And considering they don't have Jaden Ivey, they're a little limited offensively for guys who can create. Like, outside of Cade, Tobias is really one of the few guys who can go out there and create his own. He's getting a little bit older, though. He's not as quick and shifty as he used to be with the perimeter scoring or creation. So that still keeps them a little bit limited offensively in terms of what they can offer against their opponents. So that's something that I'm looking out for and I'm a little worried about. Asar Thompson's another name that I'm kind of worried about with that. 11 points for Asar, 5 of 8 from the field, 9 rebounds. He's always going to give you some help on the glass. 7 assists, got you a block. I thought he had 2 blocks. I thought he had 2 help side blocks, but I guess it was just one that was registered. Played some pretty solid defense. Wasn't his best defensive performance, but he did some good things. I'm worried about some things that I'm seeing from Asar. Again, it's the first game of the season, but you want to see some steps of progression with him. And it's not really going to be a number that suffices it for me. I want to see the confidence from him more than anything. There were a lot of possessions where he was catching the ball, whether he was in the paint or just outside the paint. And instead of going up strong, he would dribble the ball back out to the perimeter and then try to blow by his opponent with his speed and create a shot or take a mid-range jumper after that. And to me, that seemed like, I don't want to use the dude's name, but I want to see him be more confident and aggressive when looking for his own shot. Because the speed and the athleticism that he has, it's great, but it's not going to reach the value that it should have if the confidence isn't there to match it. And if he can't, be confident enough like his brother was against OKC, where he was able to just drive at dudes, right-handed, left-handed, go to the free throw line, take the open jumpers or threes that he had. It still seems like Ausar is turning those down or turning away from those. And then even, shooting 1 of 3 from the free throw line, that also is a kind of crippling stat and number that we can't really just overlook when it comes to the Pistons. He has to be better in that aspect. So when you look at his game and you look at the impact that you're looking for a guy like him, if he's going to use his transition skills, like his speed, his strength, his size, if he's going to use that frame and if he's going to use that athleticism, he has to be able to take advantage of it. So it means one thing to just be able to, blow by your opponent. And even if you don't score, let's say you get to the free throw line, if he can't knock down his free throws to take advantage of, putting, a foul on his defender, that's a problem that other teams can look at and say, okay, well, if he's not going to make his free throws, if we just foul him, we could, turn the floor over, get the ball back, and there's no blood on us. We can get him off the floor too, take their best defender off the floor and know that he's not really going to be a factor on offense because he's not providing much of a threat to really tilt our defense and what we do. And that's what we saw a little bit from Ausar against the Bulls. I really think it needs to change, and I think it needs to change soon because a big problem that I saw, and I tweeted about it, and I'm ready to talk about it, and I'm ready to address the fans about it. The Pistons are in dire need of another ball handler. They really need another creator, another self-creator that can create for themselves and others. I believe they have that guy on the roster, but a lot of people who talk to me on social media at I am Eric Vincent tell me that they don't even have that guy yet. Jaden Ivey apparently is not that guy for the Detroit Pistons because when I was tweeting about it saying they need another creator as soon as possible, the common response I heard from the trade Ivey folks is, Ivey's not fixing this, bro. You really think Ivey can fix this, blood? Yeah, I do. I think the guy that averaged 18 last season, improved in catch and shoot situations, showed he has the ability to finish at the rim, showed that he still has the athleticism and speed that this team desperately needs. Well, at least prior to the injury it was shown. We'll see how it looks after when he recovers. But prior to, if he comes back and he's still in right shape, then yeah, I absolutely think that could have helped this team. Because what are we still seeing? Cade Cunningham getting double and triple team. Cade kind of getting tired as this game goes on. Even though he played pretty good in the fourth quarter, there were still areas where he looked tired. That last jump shot he took seemed kind of flat on that step back because he was carrying a lot of the load and creating a lot of the offense for the Pistons. He wasn't even able to sit that much because they didn't have another consistent creator to put guys in positions to get good looks. So yeah, I do think Jaden Ivey, the guy who has increased his production every season, could be that guy. I absolutely think so. And I don't understand why that sounds crazy to some people, even the analytic gurus who watch basketball on a calculator instead of watching on TV and showing that Jaden Ivey is not some crippled basketball player, even in the places where they think he has weaknesses. So fine, he's not Pistol Pete Maravich with his ball handling. Sure, he's not MJ with his finishing. But is it a part or an aspect of his game that is crippling and holding the Pistons back from certain production? Absolutely not. No, not in any way, shape, or form. It's not like it's an area of his game where it's being reworked from the ground up like Ausar Thompson's jump shot or ball handling. That's totally different. They didn't bring Fred Vincent in specifically to help out for Jaden Ivey. They brought him in specifically to help with Ausar Thompson. And if you're so worried about the offensive putout for Jaden Ivey, but you have the confidence in the world for Ausar when a lot of his offense is still being worked from the ground up, that makes no damn sense to me. This team needs a Jaden Ivey immediately. That injury came at a horrible time for him. Again, he did a really good job in training camp according to the coaching staff, did a really good job of coming back from the injury he had against the Orlando Magic. But at this point now, unfortunately, he's got another leg injury to deal with his knee. He'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but they need him. They need him. I don't understand the hate that Ivy gets from so many of you fans that want him out of here, say he doesn't play winning basketball or what was the record without him last year. All that nonsense doesn't mean anything this year, especially when Duncan Robinson is giving you 2 points in 32 minutes and you don't have the same team that you had last season. This is a totally different roster now. This is not the exact same team that you had last season. Cade, I don't want to say he was bailed out, but he had the assistance of using Malik Beasley triples and catch and shoot situations where he was hitting 300 last season. You're not going to get that again from Duncan Robinson or from one person alone on this roster. So yeah, I think you could use a guy like Jaden Ivey, who gave you 18 points a game last season, who was hitting clutch shots for you last season, who was leading the Pistons in scoring in certain games last season, with or without Cade Cunningham on the floor. Yeah, I think that guy's pretty important, and I don't think that's a hot take, but some of you believe so because you watched basketball on a calculator with analytic numbers. I think it's kind of ridiculous, but we're going to see how that plays out as the season goes on. Again, it's just the first game of the season. We're not going to sound any alarms yet. The Pistons got a game on Friday against the Houston Rockets. Hopefully they can come out a little bit more polished because they want to get on the winning track as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate you for being here. Again, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out all my beat reporting work at clutchpoints.com. And you can follow me on social media at I am Eric Vincent on all platforms. Thank you all again for your time. I really appreciate you. Go Pistons, and I'll see you again soon right here on Top Title Detroit. Peace.